Welcome to the Nonprofit Digital Success Podcast, brought to you by wowdigital.com, your best place for nonprofit websites and design, now including fractional CMO support. Are you feeling like your nonprofit's digital presence is getting lost in all of the noise? Chris Norton reveals how to amplify your voice through clever, budget-friendly PR and digital strategies. From storytelling tips to social media must-dos, this episode is packed with all the insights that you can put to work right away. Stay tuned, and let's give your cause the spotlight it deserves. Welcome to the Nonprofit Digital Success Podcast. I'm your host, David, and in this episode, we're going to be talking all things around PR strategy, storytelling, and digital trends for nonprofits. And I've got Chris Norton here. Chris is the managing director of Prohibition PR, a £2.5 million a year award-winning social media and PR agency. He's a seasoned strategist with over 25 years of experience. He's worked with the likes of NHS, Fentimans, and the University of Oxford, and has over 45 industry awards. He's also the host of Embracing Marketing Mistakes, a podcast where marketing pros get the real lessons they've learned the hard way. Chris, thank you so much for fitting us in your probably extremely hectic schedule.
No worries. Thanks for having me on the show. I mean, wow, what an introduction that was. You're a pro. I'm learning from you. Even before this show started, when you were just showing me how to do the hand signals to get the balloons, taught me quite a lot about backgrounds. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. Amazing.
Well, let's kick things off with big picture. So I say big picture, but the next word I'm going to say is small. So how can small to mid-sized nonprofits use PR and digital marketing to grow awareness, engagement, even if they have limited budgets?
Well, the great thing about, we work with about 8 charities, I'd say, and we've worked with different campaigns. I've worked from everything from comic relief through to children in need, which are big ones in the UK. We're based in the UK, so I was involved in comic relief, and we could do big campaigns. We've got loads of money. We turned the BT Tower red many years ago for Red Nose Day, which, for those of you that don't know, BT, British Telecom, the BT Tower is one of the biggest buildings in London, and it was quite a thing to turn it red back in the day. And the whole thing was red, and we got it on national TV, national television, all the news and everything like that. But that was many years ago. It was actually before I started Prohibition. That's a big stunt. What can you do visually, or what can you do to tell your story? That is what PR and marketing is all about. It's telling a story. And the great thing about working in charities is you've got great human interest stories. Your listeners are listening and they work in a great sector that is doing good things, wherever they're getting their money from. And I know that's one of the key things, is doing great work and getting money. So what can you do? Well, you can tell a story on the human level, and that you don't need big budgets for that. You need to just make sure you get those human interest stories where people can tell their story, whether that's somebody that's had a donation and it's enabled them to, I don't know, buy some community housing, or whether it is I'm trying to think of some of the stuff that we've done for York. One of our clients is Yorkshire Cancer Research. Yorkshire's the biggest region in the UK, and we do all sorts of things like around Yorkshire Day. We have to do a big event for them to help them raise awareness of the great work that they do in Yorkshire. Yorkshire Cancer Research, for instance, their root cancer research, but in the Yorkshire region, so they're constantly focusing on the numbers of how many lives they're saving through their research. They identified, I believe, they identified a drug not too many years ago, which has helped with raising revenues. But the key for us is always like getting on a one-on-one level, getting to sit with somebody and getting that personal story, because numbers and statistics, if you're working in marketing, we're obsessed with statistics, aren't we? Everything's about numbers and conversions, but actually it's the real human side of stories. And if you can get those human stories, you don't need massive budgets. You just need to you can get your Sony camera, and you can walk down to them and and film them, or you can even get your iPhone out, and as long as you've got a decent microphone, and get the story, and whether that's a short story or whatever, and then it's sending the story out to the relevant media and selling it in. A personal story goes much further than 1,000 this and 1,000 that and lives saved. So yeah, there's tons you can do, especially with video now. Video is the key for all charity. It is about telling the story. It's not, a lot of people think when you say to people, video, it's terrifying. Oh God, I've got to do a video. But actually, it's just asking a few questions and putting a story together. telling that story.
Yeah, I love that idea, right? Nobody's expecting from nonprofits, charities, even small businesses, right? Nobody's expecting Hollywood production video.
No.
Right. But these devices, the phones, are so awesome now. They have like image stabilization. They've got face detection. They've got the ability to make much better quality even than 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Right. So grab your phone, make a recording, do something.
The other bit that's great about them, though, is, you're talking to me on your professional DLSR, of which is, I was just commenting on how brilliant it is, like for the sharpness of the picture. You want to see it, boys, and you can't see it. Yeah, you can use a mobile phone, and the mobile phone, the great thing about it is it's more authentic. It's more authentic. The other side of what you can do is, and this podcast is a great example, your podcast is brilliant, you've been doing it since 2022, is creating a central pillar asset. Now, your central pillar asset is your podcast. Your podcast is you're telling this story, and then you're breaking it into snippets and little clips from the video and maybe some highlights. Maybe if you've got some statistics, you might want to do some social posts. If you've got some statistics based with your story, you might want to do some infographics. Maybe you want to do a quote. Maybe you want to do one of those, depends on what channel you're using. Maybe you want to do a slideshow, a little, carousel. There's so many things from one podcast. That's the same thing. It's what I would call a pillar asset, which is why I think podcasting, even though it's been around so long, it's thriving with video.
Yeah, and we've talked about this on a number of episodes. You can create one piece of content, even a blog article, a news release, something that you're already creating, and you can split that into multiple pieces of content. Right? If you take a look at your latest news release or blog post that you've got on your nonprofit site, you could easily turn that into 5, 6 social posts. Super easy, right? If you need help with that, you can create like an AI prompt, throw the article in there and say, hey, I need, 6 social posts from this. Give me some recommendations.
The AI thing is interesting because everywhere, everything is now. I was talking on a podcast this morning. We interviewed somebody who's a LinkedIn specialist, and she's like got 500,000 followers on YouTube, and she's massive. She's just written a book on LinkedIn, and I said, what's the key thing to get awareness on LinkedIn? And then I made a joke. Is it just adding 2 letters AI to your profile now? Because that's what everybody seems to be doing, don't they? Just add the letters AI, and that's how you win on LinkedIn. It's quite amazing.
So, I think it's important, the points that you mentioned around storytelling. We need to create some kind of emotional connection with our ideal audience, right? We were talking before we hit record on this episode, Chris, about you need to run like you're a business, right? It takes money to make money. You need money coming in so that you can spend it on this and that and have salary or buy clothes to do whatever it is that you're doing. It all takes money. It all takes time. And one of the things that we need to think about is that emotional connection that we can connect between, our ideal, I'm going to call them a customer, right? But the donor, the person that you want to engage with, the person that you want to come and volunteer or be a member of your board or sign up for your program or your service that you have, make a donation either in money, in time, or in kind, right? We need to develop these personas of these people to go, how can we connect with them? What is the message that will ultimately be the engaging piece with them?
Yeah, for me, it's got to be a motive, especially in this space. Like you're asking people to put their hands in their pockets, and for charities, any charity or non-profit organization out on the street, and I don't know what it's like in up in Toronto, but like in the UK, it amazes me now that so many people, it's just a cashless society. Like, even I'd say 5 years ago, if you're a charity, you're trying to collect the people on the street, they're trying to collect various bits and pieces. Now it's cashless. I feel for them. Like, so you have to have a card donator now, don't you? I mean, it's so it's a whole different ball game, but it's still the same thing. It's an emotive experience. So if you can create that emotive experience through telling a story, through whatever piece of content, through a podcast, through a blog post, like you say, and then creating smaller social media posts, I would often say be careful with AI though, because AI can do what I call the vanilla content, which is everything looks the same with AI. Like, I've got this policy where I would use if you're going to want to get the maximum out of AI, and you want to save money if you're working in a charity, you haven't got a big team, I get it. I would say use the 10-80-10 principle on social media. So we do social media for a load of charities, but loads of different types of brands. And the way that I would work it is 10% human. So AI is often best if you would say and write a blog post. So if you wrote the majority of the blog post, maybe you scoped it out of what you would like to cover. Then you use the AI to help you write it, and then you sprinkle the magic, the 10% back on at the end, where you give it your human, and you give it that human touch, the experiences that you've had, because that's the one thing AI will never ever have. Even AI David won't be able to have had the experience of meeting other people, except maybe virtually, because maybe you can now have an AI persona drop into a call and be you, which freaks me out a little bit. But they can't be in the real world, and they can't do the experiences that we can do. So yeah, I think that AI can be used really, really cleverly, especially for your target audience. If you say this is your target audience, but treat it like it's going to be a 6 out of 10 because it's never a 9, and then sprinkle that little bit of magic, and you get that emotive thing out, which is really what you're trying to do in a charity, isn't it?
Yeah. So from your perspective, are there digital marketing or PR mistakes that you've seen nonprofits make? And what should or could they do differently?
Mistakes, loads. I mean, I work in PR and social media, so crises galore I've seen with people doing. I mean, there's been various mistakes. Obviously, the podcast is about embracing marketing mistakes. Our podcast is where people come on and tell a story about something that absolutely screwed up. And some of them are hilarious because they'll tell a story. Some of them are quite cathartic for the person. They say, I've never told this before. In terms of charities, though, I mean, I think I've sort of touched on it, which is sharing too many statistics. We served 1,000 meals with no human context, or we saved this many, because numbers don't tend to tell the story. So it's like, you might say, meet Maria, who can now feed her family based on this brilliant campaign. And it's that in the UK, we've got the BBC, and they do it beautifully on the news, where instead of going and telling the big story, they'll go into a family in a war-torn area. I won't name one of the countries, but they'll go down to the family level, and that's kind of what a charity's got to do. It's got to tell those personalized stories, and like I said before, sharing statistics is often a mistake you see. I suppose another one is like overlooking donor journeys. So what's the donor journey? And treating every supporter the same, so one-off appeals without long-term engagement. So you need to think about, like, how can that support it? Because they're going to support. So Yorkshire Council Research, good example. I've been involved in a number of things for them, and I actually do quite a lot of charity stuff for them as well, because they're a client, and also they're local for me. So it's a great charity, and that's why we work with them. But I get ongoing communication with them, not in a work sense, but in a private sense as well, for the things that they're doing and the lives that they're saving, and that goes down to the small level. So it sort of takes you through that journey rather than just a one-off donation, which is, I think it's great. But I mean, in the real marketing, in the other marketing sphere, we talk about lifetime customer value, not the one sale. We talk about the sale and the sale and the sale, and it's easier to get that resale from a customer or a redonation from a customer multiple times. So yeah, that's another thing I'd think about. Underutilizing owned sort of social media channels as well. So relying solely on paid ads or seasonal campaigns. So I see a lot of charities, they just wait for Christmas, they wait for Easter or whatever. They'll do a Mother's Day campaign or something like that. And actually there's always on comms that you could be doing rather than just seasonal campaigns, because paid ads come and they go. And if you've got you can do a lot on your own channels. Also, the other thing with channels is just, if you work at a charity now, ask yourself, why are we on this channel? Because I meet so many marketing people that I've got, I'm like, what channels are you on? And they reel them off as like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. It used to be Friend Feed and MySpace, and I've been involved in social media right from the beginning. And YouTube. And I'm like, why are you on X, for instance, which is a big question we get in the UK at the moment. I'm sure you do in Canada, because of where X has gone, and people still call it Twitter because they don't really feel comfortable calling it. But yeah, that's a debate. And then I always say to them, why are you on those channels? And it's often because other charities are on it. And I'm like, well, why don't you just double down on a channel that works best for you? So what channel? Where are your donations coming from? What age group? So do you really need to be on TikTok, or should you be on Instagram for an older, and focus your energy? Yes, you can still have a presence, but put your energies into the channel where you're getting the most donations. Do you even know that? Which is often what they don't know. Do you know what I mean? What else have I got? I suppose other mistakes: neglecting internal alignment. So people operating in silos. So I've got, and this just isn't in the charity element. I've seen it's a key thing. Right? I worked with I don't know if you've got the brand called Interflora, the biggest florist in the UK, and it was, I don't know if it still is, but it was the biggest in America as well. And yeah, when I first ever met them back in the day, I was talking about always integrating your marketing, because they had a PR team, they had a brand team, they had an advertising team, they had an SEO team, and they wanted to do a campaign to get some PR coverage. And I was like, have you actually, can I have someone from this team? And I got them all in a room and said, right, what do you need? And because it was somebody independent, it was a lot easier. So what do you need? And that person would say, well, we're in brands, so we always want a good, strong brand. Make sure the campaign's on brand message. Great. Okay. What do you need? Well, we need, and we just went round and round and ticked all the boxes. A classic politician way of doing it, but stopping the teams working in silos, because it happens in brands, and I'm sure it happens in charities as well, where marketing have spun off and are doing something, and press team are doing something else. And then the CEO decides to talk about something that nobody's even, it's not in line with everything else. So yeah, but not working in silos, trying to make things work integrated. That's another one. Is that enough for you? I suppose I could go on to PR crises. I've seen loads of those as well, but because I love a good PR crisis.
So there's a number of things that you touched on there that I think are really key, and I was making some notes as you were talking. One is LTV and CAC, right? So lifetime value. We talk about this in the business world. We need to think about it in the nonprofit world, right? Somebody makes a donation. Are they a monthly donor, an annual donor, one-time donor, multiple year, that kind of thing? What is the lifetime value of that donor? And then you have the cost of acquisition, right? The CAC. It's easier to retain the customer, the donor, than it's less expensive, is what I mean. It's less expensive to keep the donor continuing to donate than it is to go and find new donors, right?
100%.
And it's the same in business. The cost of keeping somebody in your ecosystem is less than the cost of finding new customers, right? And nonprofits need to think about that in this kind of way, because a lot of them don't. Right? So how can we keep the people engaged with the brand? How can we keep people engaged with the cause that you are trying to fight and solve? And the way to do that is storytelling. Numbers are good. Chris, you said, numbers are hard to tell the story. I kind of think numbers are like half of it, right? And to your point, you need to humanize the number, right?
Yeah,
and
100%.
Talk about this on the donation side, right? Stop asking for money. Start asking for things. And I don't know, maybe 80 episodes ago, I had Josh Bloomfield from GiveCloud on the show, and we were talking about like gamification of donations. And I believe the example he gave was they worked with one of their clients, and they had donation page. Organization, I think, helped get children school supplies for school. And I was like, how many backpacks can you buy? Right? That humanizes it. Instead of asking for $30, 30 pounds, whatever the currency is, right? How many backpacks can you buy? How many of this can you buy? How many families can you help feed? How many cows can you provide to this community that's starting to do farming, or whatever it happens to be? That really humanizes it and makes people understand where the money is actually going.
Yeah, the malaria nets thing, isn't it? Is that Oxfam's one where they say, this amount of money saves this many people from malaria, that kind of thing. Yeah, I completely agree. And by the way, just to be clear, statistics are good, because I work in public relations, and I'm going to use this. 90% of statistics are slammed into press releases, but actually, when you do if you want to get to tell a story, like a video or something, it can be quite hard hitting, but it's, a personal story, a human story is so much more powerful than 2,000 people were affected by this or that. When you say about gamification of donations, that's actually quite interesting, because we've worked on a couple of things where charities have asked us to help get people to get out and do things. So maybe step out. So steps, it's counting steps with pedometers and, your smartwatches, and it's tracking how far. And so my team were all doing loads and loads as steps as part of it. And it became really competitive because we had different teams and we're all competing. So that's another thing, to get people exercising, because that was a good thing. But then you could also donate to take part. So just little clever things. Gamification is brilliant, by the way. It does make you do. That's why smartwatches work. Sometimes when I've only done 9,735 steps, I end up walking around the block to make sure I've done my 10,000, which is absolutely insane. And I don't know why I do it, but it's the gamification element, isn't it? It's that 10,000 steps, you must do it.
Yeah, my daughter and I have Apple Watches, and we'll do challenges with it to make sure like we're staying active, or we've hit the goals for the day that we've set in there. The other thing that I want to touch on is you were talking about social channels, right? Like, why are you on this channel? Why are you on that channel? You didn't mention this specifically, but I think this is the underlying thing, is to create personas and understand who it is that you want to attract, who are your primary, secondary, tertiary markets, people, consumers, organizations, businesses that you want to bring into your ecosphere. Who are they? What drives them? What motivates them? Think about the psychographics. So I think episode 16 of my podcast, so going back, I don't know, like 100 some odd episodes ago, I did an episode on why psychographics are so important, right? And you really need to understand, where is the person that you want to connect with? Where are they hanging out? What are their pain points? What are their motivations? And all of that will help figure out where should you focus your effort, right?
Absolutely.
Because you understand the demographic, the geographic, to an extent it doesn't really matter so much, but it does a little bit. But the psychographics are really going to help you hone in your message, identify how you can emotionally connect with them, and then where they spend their time, so that you can put time and effort into that channel or channels or mediums or whatever.
Yeah, but I'd also say that's good. Persona is great. Who you're aiming for, David, but do they actually know today? Which marketer in charity today can answer the demographic of their channels that they've got right now, this moment? Because a lot of other sectors, whether it's consumer, food and drink, higher education, I ask that question and they go, most people are on Facebook, and then they don't actually know. And then so what you can do is you can audit each channel to see, and you see if you've got your ideal persona, like you just said there, then you can see which and compare, because sometimes it's quite shocking. You think it's one thing and you're actually wrong. It's not. It's something else. Yeah, it really, really, really depends. But once you know your ideal persona and where you're going to get your donations from, you can then marry the two together and make sure you've focused your efforts. And once you've got some sort of focus, that is when you'll start winning, no doubt. The other part of the lifetime customer value thing, which other brands other industries don't take into account, is that the charity element. I'm aware that when people die, they leave donations to charities, and that happens quite a lot for quite a few of our clients in that space, which doesn't happen if you're, the head of marketing at Coca-Cola. They're not expecting someone to pop their clogs and leave all their inheritance to Coca-Cola. So that's it. Literally the lifetime value of somebody it can be anyway within, the third sector.
There is a gigantic wave of money. I like to call it the silver tsunami, right? So you have the baby boomers. They have a huge amount of wealth. And it's expected, at least in Canada and the US, that over the next 10 to 15 years, I think the number is $4 trillion is going to be passing down from generation downwards. And so there's two things that means from my perspective. One is nonprofits need to get in front of the boomers, make them care about your organization, exactly to your point, to try to get some legacy gifting and things like that going.
Yeah.
But they also need to connect with Gen X, Gen Z, and millennials, because they more and more care about leaving a better mark on humanity, leaving the planet in a better place than it was when they came into the world, and all of that. And if you can create emotional connection with them, money is going to be transferring down. And if they care about your cause, they will care about your cause when they've got money. And it sounds a little bit like corporate greed here, right? But you need money to run the organization. So if you can connect with them before they come into this money, right, they're going to care. And so it's a long-term play on all of that for sure. But it's something that organizations really should be thinking about.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
Okay, so thinking future forward, because I kind of like went that way a little bit. Are there any digital trends or tools or social media strategies that nonprofits should be paying attention to over, let's say, the next year, the next 12 months?
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, what we're doing now, so short form, well, this is long form video, but live streaming, we're sort of doing that. We're not live streaming this, but if you're doing this on LinkedIn live streaming is the big one. Short form video. So, I mean, weirdly, TikTok changed the game in terms of social media and videos because it opened the discovery element of video. So predominantly before, you had to have channels with high follower numbers to get your video to go far. YouTube slightly different. You could still there's still discovery on that platform, despite all the other platforms. Because what tends to happen is a platform comes out and its strategy is give 100% reach. Do you remember Facebook 2006? Here you go, have 100% reach, everyone gets in, everyone buys in, slowly but surely they reduce the reach and you all have to pay for it. That's kind of what's happened with TikTok, but you still can get visibility with a great video, even if you've not got a lot of followers. So, and short form video, my point is that short form video had a rebirth through TikTok. It's what changed Instagram's game. They added Reels because of TikTok. They tried to buy TikTok. They couldn't buy them. So Zuckerberg tried to buy it. They couldn't get it. So they created Reels. And now that's short form video. Short form video is now stretched a little bit, which is weird. It went really short and now it's gone a little bit longer again. So, but in essence, a short form punchy video, video is still where it's at. Hence why we're recording this on video. Other trends, I mean, I cannot do a podcast without talking about AI, but the one thing that is interesting me the most very, very recently and I think it's generative engine optimization instead of search engine optimization. And it's basically because search engines used to Google a problem, and up would come 10 links, a page of 10 links. It was always key to be on that page one. That's dead. As of mid-July, that game is over. You've had for about 6 months, you've had the AI overview, which I've just read very recently has killed news sites by 80% traffic. So Google knows the game's up on this, so it's changed its strategy. And I can't believe more people aren't talking about this, by the way. Google has been the monopoly that is. Every business out there has thought, get a website, get it high on Google, we'll get donations, we'll get donations or we'll sell something. That's totally changed now because the searches are so much more nuanced. And instead of giving you 10 results with links, you might get one result and there's no link in it. If I ask a question on Google, my point is, you've now got to optimize your website differently, which also merges with something from this space, which is purpose-led sort of search, which is basically getting people to purpose-driven search engine optimization. So yeah, it's by embracing optimizations about FAQs when people ask questions about, how can I support mental health charity? So to drive organic discovery, you want lots of FAQs. So your site will appear in generative queries. So this is probably the biggest thing I think that's happened in digital marketing in the last, since I've been in it, I'd say 25 years. Google has literally a couple of weeks ago, they've announced that they're not just doing the AI overview now, they've got an option of doing normal search or an AI search, which means you completely bypass the entire model that it's always had. So yeah, the game has fundamentally changed. Purpose-driven SEO, generative engine optimization, awful term. It's a new term, but for basically for the different large language models. So that's a big issue for me. I think I could do a whole webinar on that because it's going to be all about trust. It's going to be all about all the signals that make your organization look trustworthy. But how do you then stand out from the other 5 charities that are coming up in the search? That's the issue,
Totally agree. I stopped talking about search engine optimization and I've started talking about search everywhere optimization so that your organizations, your businesses, your websites, your content shows up in AI. There's some new things as of us recording it. We're recording this, it's July right now, end of July, right? So this is going to come out in about 10 weeks, but we've been playing with, I'm going to get a little geeky technical here. Websites have robot TXT files. There's the sitemap XML files. There's a new proposed standard called LLMs.text, which is supposed to help the large language models, the AI, get more context about your content. We're playing around with that with our site and a couple of our clients' websites as well to see how we can rank. The reality, Google is actually late to the game on this. ChatGPT, Perplexity were there first, where people are going there and searching for something, getting the information without ever having to visit the website. So
Exactly.
what we're seeing in Google with the Gemini result at the top is they're getting the information, not needing to click through the website. They've made these like small little references that are kind of like nobody knows really that you can click on them to get to the website. But the reality is that your Google Analytics are going to show fewer numbers if they haven't already done that. You're going to see a decline in website traffic. But the traffic you are going to get from search, they are more engaged and they're ready to go. So they're there. They're on the cusp of donating. They're on the cusp of getting ready to sign up for your program, for your service, to get in touch, to volunteer, to whatever the engagement pieces that they want from your organization. So the reality there is, what are you doing to optimize your website to take advantage of people that are already past that initial curiosity? Because they're there. And for me, that's the biggest part, is CRO, the conversion rate optimization, getting people to take the next step. And a lot of that comes down to the clear call to actions that you have on your website. But Chris, to your point, building the authority through your website so that you show up in the AI platforms is what's going to really be transformative over the coming year for sure.
I'm not going to lie. So our site, Repurposing PR, if you Google in the UK, if you check, is Google even going to be a verb anymore? If you search for top PR agencies in Leeds or Yorkshire, we come out on ChatGPT as the #1, which is great. But in the UK, not so much. But we were always on page 1 in the UK of SEO. So I'm going to release some statistics to you because I looked at it 2 days ago. Our traffic's always been 6,000-7,000 a month. We get good numbers, right? And it's dropped by 53% in the last 28 days. But our AI search content has gone up by much less than that. But it's literally, the two have gone, one's gone like down like that, and the other one's gone up. We actually had our first client off the back of, they searched in ChatGPT for a particular thing, and they called us, and like, as you just said there, David, they were much more qualified. They knew what we were all about, and it led to a much easier conversation. And now a client. So weird, different, but I would say to every marketer listening to this, check your analytics today, and it will have dropped since January. It'll have dropped 50-60%. That's not just us, by the way, that is every business everywhere, all around the world. That is why what you were saying about Google being late to the party, yeah, they've been caught with their pants down. Gemini that wasn't ready, they had to rush all of this out, but they know that they are losing the monopoly that they've always had. That Google becoming a verb is now, that's what I say, is it a verb? Now it will be back to, I've just searched for. And there's a gap there, isn't there? Who is going to win it? Is it Lana? Is it Perplexity? Is it ChatGPT? Is it Copilot? Or is that just a sideshow because Microsoft are investing in ChatGPT anyway? Or is it Gemini? And then there's a couple of others as well. They're all Grok. They're all investing their dollars. And the worst of all was probably Mr. Zuckerberg. He even changed the company name from Facebook, which was the #1, to Meta, because he put all his dollars on it being the metaverse. It turns out it's not going to be the metaverse, the actual thing that we're all using. They've literally done a bit of a U-turn, haven't they? And the amount of money they're investing, but they've got that much money that you've got to have to watch that space as well. So it's fascinating. It's like the VHS, and for people of a certain age, VHS and Betamax thing. Who is going to win this battle? Because Google have won it. Bing was, all the others haven't really come close. We're talking 95% of traffic was Google. And now So it's fascinating to me. Who is going to win? And how do you optimize your site for 6 or 7 different generative large language models? How do you do that? Stop panicking. I think it's still through the stuff we're doing right now, which is stuff that gets you trust, reputation, trust. PR is going to help. You get good PR in the top media about you being a reputable business. That's my sell from now on. I don't have to. That's how they're judging you. If you've got great praise in all the newspapers and about what the industry that you're working in, you're going to come up higher in search. You're going to be more trusted by Google and the others. So yeah, it's a fascinating, but this is the biggest shift in digital marketing since I started 25 years, I'd say.
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw one more out there, like Laserdisc, right? How long did Laserdiscs exist out there on the market? Anyways, Chris, these have been some amazing insights around PR, storytelling, and certainly like the last, 10 minutes or so around AI and leveraging that and the importance of PR. And I hope that the people listening to this episode have gotten some great tips and pointers from our conversation and from you today on this. So I challenge everybody listening to this episode to take one insight that we've talked about and implement it in your organization today, or even just go and talk to somebody else at your organization about it. So one challenge that I have for you specifically is to go into whatever AI platform you want and do a search. What do you think about, and then your organization's name, and see what comes back. So Chris, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what do they need to do?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, Chris Norton on LinkedIn. I'm also, look up the podcast, Embracing Marketing Mistakes. Yeah, I'm also on X, Chris_Norton. So yeah, easy to find.
Chris, again, thank you so much for joining in. It's been great having you here on the Nonprofit Digital Success Podcast. To everybody listening, if you want any of the links, we've got the link to the podcast and Chris's social channels, or to any of the other things that we've talked about. We've got the full details on our podcast page at nonprofitdigitalsuccess.com. Click on this episode for all the details. And until next time, keep on being successful.